Please subscribe to this channel, so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Was afraid. Chapter 1041. Birthday Gifts. The four of them sighed at the same time, a sense of helplessness in their hearts. Miao Xiao Miao's attitude had told them that today's banquet was likely not just a birthday feast. It was quite possibly going to become a groom selection feast, or even an engagement party. Because there wasn't even the slightest look of anxiousness in Miao Xiao Miao and Mo Jun Xie's eyes. It was as if they did not even take this matter seriously. That only meant one thing: the matter between the two of them had already gotten the approval of the Miao family. Li Xingyu had said those words to firstly remind and befriend, and also as a way of probing. Now that the matter had been confirmed, the four of them finally gave up for real. Good rascal. You really have ability, Li Xingyu said with a light smile as he clapped his hand roughly against Jun Moxie's shoulder and laughed. You're really, feck. The number one beauty of our misty illusory manor was actually plucked away by you just like that. Today, I must make you drink until you're lying under the table. Otherwise, how will the few of us be able to vent the frustration in our hearts? Meng Xianru and the rest instantly echoed their agreement. Since they were helpless against him in the field of love, and their chances of coming out on top based on Xian cultivation talent was too minute, the only choice left was to destroy him at the drinking table. That would be the only way they could regain some of their wounded pride. I'll gladly keep you company, Jun Moxie said with a slight smile. However, if the few of you end up under the table first, you mustn't blame this brother for being a bad sport. There's no room for mercy in this kind of matters. With just you? The few youngsters roared with laughter as their faces were filled with self-confidence. The few of them were all people that had all gone through the fiery refinement of wine and alcohol. Moreover, their cultivation were extraordinary, and they were exceedingly confident in their ability to hold their liquor. This little fellow that came from the outside with only his golden Xian cultivation was truly fearless. To imagine that he could defeat all of them in a contest of drinking? What a ludicrous joke. We drink with our cultivation sealed, Zhang Qiyun reminded kindly, instantly earning the white eyes of the other three. Not to mention that our Xian Qi is far superior, even if we didn't use any Xian Qi, with our ability to hold liquor. And in a situation of 4 against 1, there's no reason why we'll lose. So what if the opponent has the legendary free and natural physique? We've never heard that the free and natural physique is immune to alcohol. At that moment, thank you everyone for attending this grand birthday celebration. May our manor lord have many more happy returns. We invite all out honored guests to proceed to the longevity hall to offer your blessings and present your gifts. A voice suddenly rang out. Jun Moxie nearly burst out laughing. This manor lord is truly different from everyone. To think that he had even begun to openly ask for gifts, this was truly a little overbearing. Looks like apart from the Miao family, the other 7 large families as well as those other factions that have great status are going to have a hole in their wallets this time. At this time, the longevity hall was already extremely lively. All the high-level people of the misty illusory manor had practically all gathered for the sake of the manor lord's grand birthday. With just a single look, young Master Jun was already completely speechless. In this place, there were at least 40, 50 Saint Venerable level experts. Many reclusive experts had also come out this time. As for Saint Emperors, there were over 100 of them in total. Even people of Chao Guofeng and Bai Chi Feng's caliber did not stand out at all in this kind of setting. Such a lineup could be said to be exceedingly powerful. Everyone was beaming and talking cheerfully, their faces wreathed in joy. The Zhan family's head Zhan Wuyun was also smiling and interacting with everyone in a familiar manner, looking extremely happy. From the looks of it, he seemed even happier than if this was his own birthday. Miao Jingyun sat at the highest position, wearing a completely red long robe. A huge longevity was emblazoned right in the center of his chest, as if he was afraid that others would not know that he was the old monster celebrating his 500th birthday today. Truthfully, even without the huge longevity word, he was the only fellow wearing red in the Great Hall, as if he was a red packet. This kind of atmosphere might be a little tacky, but it was quite lively. It gave Jun Moxie a feeling of a thick kinship. To be able to achieve such a great level of unity among the high echelons of the misty illusory manor was no doubt an extremely admirable thing. On the Xian continent, such a thing would be exceedingly rare. As loud voice of the master of ceremonies rang out, everyone went up to give the manor lord their blessings and presented their carefully prepared presents. The atmosphere was joyful and lively, and as each present was revealed, the cheers and excitement in the hall grew greater and greater. It was as if this birthday celebration was a day for flaunting wealth. Miao Jingyun sat happily atop the seat in the middle, and spoke softly with his old brothers, seemingly discussing something. Qiu Chengyun of the Qiu family wishes the manor lord a blessed birthday and offers a 1,000-year longevity pine as present. May manor lord's longevity be longer than a pine tree, remaining youthful for 10,000 years. A bright voice rang out, and a thin and wizened old man walked out. Behind him, Qiu Peng carefully carried a small pine tree no taller than 1 qi, and as thick as a teacup. This pine tree was strangely shaped and looked like a miniature pine tree. The miniature pine tree was placed in an extremely exquisite small white jade vase. Although the pine tree was small, it was covered in branches and green, forming a picture of prosperity with its neat and vibrantly colored crown. All of its pine needles were pointing outwards, with not a single one sticking upwards. Moreover, its trunk was strong and straight, and its bark hung closely against the trunk. With a single look, one could see that although this tree was small, its age was definitely not low. 1,000 years longevity pine? Everyone's eyes widened as they heard those 4 words, and they all turned their eyes towards the small pine tree. The crowd had seen plenty of longevity pine trees, and it was nothing extraordinary. Not to mention a 1,000 years old one. Even a 10,000-year longevity pine was nothing to be amazed about. But for a longevity pine tree to have lived for 1,000 years and still remain so small while growing naturally was something that they'd indeed seen for the first time. When trees grow, it was natural that they would grow bigger and taller. It was basically impossible for a pine tree to have grown for 1 year and be in this state. There were clearly factors within this that everyone did not understand. But no matter what, this longevity pine tree had clearly snatched all the attention in this gifting ceremony. In that moment, nearly everyone had surrounded the longevity pine tree, exclaiming with amazement. Everyone here were peak experts of the present age. With a simple sweep of their spiritual sense, they had already seen through the essence of this pine tree. There was indeed no doubt that it had experienced the ages of 1,000 years. A person said with an impressed smile, "Old Qiu, you stinky loach. Where did you get such a good thing from? Today's attention had all been snatched away by you." Qiu Chengyun smiled arrogantly. This is fate, honestly. This old man still does not understand what happened with this tree. Just last spring when this old man went out for a stroll and ended up encountering a heavy rain. I randomly found a cave to shelter from the rain. As I waited for the rain to stop, this old man suddenly felt that the stone under my foot that had a weight of 10,000 jin was actually moving. In a moment of curiosity, I bent down to lift it to look at it. Who would have expected that it was two pieces of rocks sandwiched together? In the middle of those two rocks was a small round hole. This little pine tree was growing in the middle. So, this old man dug it out and planted it. Who would have expected that it would come in handy today? He smiled proudly and stroked his beard. Although this is not anything valuable, it can be considered a rare life form. So, this old man decided to bring it here as a gift for the manor lord to wish him a long life. Everyone surrounded Chiu Chengyun to look at the pine tree, as they stared at the rare tree. Just as Chiu Chengyun was about to back down victoriously, he heard his own grandson Chiu Peng suddenly ask in a loud voice. Today, all of us of the younger generation can be said to have gathered here to offer our birthday blessings to our esteemed manor lord. This junior heard that the legendary free and natural physique genius Mo Jun Xie is also here. I wonder what precious gift brother Mo has prepared for the manor lord. This junior hopes that it will be an eye-opening experience. When these words came out, it was not just the people in the hall that were stunned. Chao Guofeng and the rest's faces also turned green and red with rage. Even Chiu Peng's grandfather Chiu Chengyun also had a mortified expression on his face. No matter what, he would not have expected that his own grandchild would interrupt and shout so loudly in such a setting. With a single look, anyone with half a brain could tell that this sentence was meant to specifically target and make things difficult for that great prodigy Mo. How had that Mo Jun Xie offended his grandson? But no matter what, now was not the time to pick a fight. Especially on such a grand occasion where all the elders of the misty illusory manor was gathered, regardless of how this turned out, it would still become a stain for his Chiu family. Besides, was that free and natural physique lad so easy to offend? Even if he was able to embarrass the latter today, what about in the future? That kid was destined to become a huge figure in the misty illusory manor in the future. To offend him today meant that the Chiu family would gain a huge enemy that couldn't be surmounted in the future. In that moment, Chiu Chengyun's rage rose to his head, and he lifted his hand, wanting to slap this little brat out of the hall. Unexpectedly, once Chiu Peng finished speaking, the manor lord Miao Jingyun actually laughed aloud and nodded. Indeed. This old man is also interested to see what kind of surprises our peerless free and natural physique prodigy has prepared for this old man today. The moment those words came out, everyone rubbed their eyes subconsciously and tapped their ears. Was that really the manor lord speaking? Chiu Peng was instantly delighted. He wasn't a dumb person, and he had only spoken out of rashness and anger earlier. There was indeed some regret in his heart directly after he spoke. But now that the birthday boy had also spoken, his words had indeed become great words that coincided with the old man's intentions. In that moment, he could not help but to feel more arrogant. As he spoke, Miao Jingyun's eyes gleamed sinisterly as he thought to himself. Brat, I'll let you behave wildly. I'll see how you continue being stubborn. Today, this old man is determined to make you lose face. We'll see how you get off the stage. If I don't teach you a good lesson today, how can I vent the anger in my heart? Today, I'll let you know that this old man is not dead. Grandfather. How can you do that? Miao Xiao Miao protested loudly. You knew that. As she spoke to hear, Jun Moxie cut her off. Originally, Jun Moxie had been intending to use today's celebration as an opportunity to give this old Miao a good surprise. Even if it's doing a favor for Miao Qingcheng or returning a gift to the misty illusory manor. He had countless precious things inside his Hongjun pagoda, and just randomly taking one out would easily cause the entire crowd to grow speechless with shock. As for a mere birthday gift, It was not an issue at all. Seeing this old fellow behaving like this now, Jun Moxie suddenly felt like he did not quite want to take out his gift. But as he looked at the pleading expression on Miao Xiao Miao's face as she looked at her grandfather, his heart could not help but to soften as he sighed. Forget it. This daddy will help that old man gain a bit of face today. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 1042. I'll gift you a stone as a present. Even if not for the monk's sake, but for the Buddha's, since he'd already stolen the heart of the old fellow's granddaughter, what was a mere birthday gift? Whether it was to return a favor from Miao Qingcheng or to give his woman some face, he wouldn't be calculative against this old fellow this time. Since Jun Moxie had made up his mind, he no longer hesitated and stepped forward with a suave smile and was about to speak. Unfortunately, another old fellow at the side stood out first and spoke with a faint smile. This was the Gu family's Gu Yunyang. Esteemed Manor Lord, I wish you many happy returns on your grand birthday. But this one has a matter to ask. Last year, Manor Lord said that you would have a double happiness birthday this year and would select a talented youth from among the younger generation to be paired with the young lass Xiao Miao. I wonder how Manor Lord intends to choose. As he said that, a strange smile appeared on Gu Yunyang's old face. At the same time, the faces of the other old fellows also twisted a little. All of these old fellows were seasoned foxes. How would they not be able to understand the situation in front of them? Miao Xiao Miao's defensive tone a moment earlier had already highlighted many things. Although a marriage alliance with the Miao Manor would be a great help to their families, but if they ended up offending the future powerhouse of the misty illusory manor, it would not necessarily be worth it. Moreover, they can't even be sure that they would be able to gain a marriage alliance with the Miao family. Speaking up now might instead cause them to end up in a bad spot. Miao Jingyun narrowed his eyes and laughed aloud. Everyone here knows that this old man had indeed said those words last year. A man lives by his word. And this old man will naturally not go back on what I've said. Let's just do it like this. Apart from our own Miao family, all 7 great families are here today, including all the most outstanding youths of our generation. The only regretful thing is that the ones from the Zhan family aren't here. Zhan Wuyun's face twitched slightly at this. The 2 most promising youths of the Zhan family had already been turned into a pair of corpses. As for the others, they were all too disappointing. Even if they came, they would only be a joke. What was the point of coming in that case? Miao Jingyun continued. So after this, we'll just let my precious granddaughter choose from among all these promising youths. The moment his words came out, the entire hall became noisy. The eyes of many talented youths were blazing with fire as they prepared themselves. Only Meng Xianru, Li Xingyu, and the others were not excited as they smiled bitterly to themselves. Old man, you can keep pretending. Your granddaughter had already made her choice long ago. Today's selection is nothing but a formality to fulfill your promise. Looks like the rest of us are just fated to accompany the future crown prince to read. Since everyone had already presented their gifts, we'll place all the gifts together. After young Master Mo has presented his gift, this old man and Xiao Miao will personally choose together. Whoever's gift satisfies both of us the most will be the son-in-law of our Miao family. Miao Jingyun smiled lightly and waved his finger. The table on the side was filled with presents, stacked full of presents. With a single glance, there were at least over 100. When these words came out, another commotion washed over the entire hall. As far as birthdays in the misty illusory manor, as all of those old fellows were very long-lived. There were basically too many birthday celebrations every year. All of them were just giving each other face, taking the chance to meet up for a chat and drink. How many people would truly take out the precious stuff as presents? This was basically an unspoken rule in this place. Although Miao Jingyun was the manor lord, and he was celebrating his 500th birthday, so it was slightly more grand than normal, and the people who attended are more. The gifts would not be that much more precious than normal. Which of these old fellows would not have a 1.000th birthday? Although a 500th birthday was still a huge landmark, what was it worth? If the birthday boy was not Miao Jingyun, the manor lord of the misty illusory manor, how would there be such a grand celebration? Most of the youths simply stood there, staring at the gifts that their families had sent with wide eyes and open mouths. At this time, they did not even have the ability to complain. My dearest ancestor. Aren't your gift a little too simple? No. It's simply outright cheap. How could that broken stuff gain me the graces of the beauty? Didn't you always say that the best materials should be used for the knife's edge? How come you didn't put in any effort this time? Such a great chance was completely wasted. Countless people were beating their chest with regret. Li Xingyu looked at Jun Moxie, who was standing beside Meng Xianru, and saw that the two's faces were completely calm, as if they were not affected at all. Laughing bitterly in their hearts, Meng Xianru, Zhang Qiyun, and the others exchanged a glance and smiled bitterly, not knowing if they should be laughing or crying. This manor lord was truly too good. But wasn't it a little too much? It's your present, but you're going to choose together with your granddaughter, and it's choosing the one that she likes the most? Was there even a point in thinking about the results? No matter what this great prodigy Mo brings out, even if it's a pile of shit, your granddaughter will still say that it's the best present. What are we competing about? What do you like? Jun Moxie rubbed his nose helplessly. From the looks of it, that old fellow is intent on forcing this young master to the end today. Even if this last Xiao Miao is willing to speak up for me, this old fellow will surely not let me off easily. And this was clearly a planned attack by all those old things. And it's clear that they just formulated this plan not long ago. Looking at Gu Yunyang and the other large family patriarchs exchanging glances and smiling arrogantly, Jun Moxie could tell with a single glance that they were obviously working together. And Miao Jingyun was the one who orchestrated everything. Jun Yi, I also want to see what kind of present you have prepared for grandfather. Actually, I don't even have to look to know that it must be the best. And I will definitely like it. Miao Xiao Miao looked at young Master Jun affectionately and said with a gentle smile. Young Lady Miao had not purposely lowered her volume, and the two of them were standing where Li Xingyu and the others were. This sentence was naturally heard clearly by all the young geniuses. Li Xingyu and the rest sighed heavily as they thought to themselves, was this still the same ice princess young Lady Miao? Those words were a little mushy. Wasn't this grandfather and granddaughter pair just toying with their emotions by doing this? Young Lady Miao naturally had her own plans. Grandfather, aren't you intending to stir up some trouble? I know how to do that as well. As long as I acknowledge Jun Ye's present. Even if you said that you preferred another person's present, the results will at most end in a draw. In any case, Jun Yi will definitely not lose. Young Master Mo, it's your turn. Please take out your present for everyone to see. Qiu Peng said in an arrogant manner. This kid had been blinded by his desire and jealousy and had not noticed the faint undercurrents of the situation at all. When the Gu family old master mentioned the matter of choosing a groom, and old Master Miao had not denied it, even purposely making things difficult for great prodigy Mo. Even if Miao Xiao Miao insisted on leaning on his side, the matter would still not achieve the agreement of the Miao family elders. Although the presents on the table were all not anything precious, his family's longevity pine tree was the most special and had the most effort. From the way he saw it, he'd already gained a clear and stable advantage. The girl was destined to not be able to escape from his clutches. Speaking of gifts, I truly hadn't prepared anything beforehand. Jun Moxie took a step forward, completely disregarding Chiu Peng's face, treating him as empty air. Smiling lightly, he said, "This junior's family was poor, and I'd grown up without much material wealth and am unable to take out any proper presents. How about this? I once picked up 2 pieces of stones when I was outside, and they could barely be considered as rare items. I've kept them on me all these years, and since today is the grand birthday of the Manor Lord, this junior will present this stone as a gift to Manor Lord." What? A stone? To actually use a stone as a present? The crowd instantly burst out with laughter. What kind of rare item can a stone be? Stones can be found anywhere in the continent, and just a random stone that you picked up can be used as a gift? This was surely too ridiculous. From the looks of it, things were going to be really interesting now. Even if Miao Xiao Miao wanted to be biased, she could not blindly turn the stone into a piece of gold, right? Miao Jingyun's old face stiffened in an instant. This old man had already calculated perfectly. This brat could simply take out any random presentable thing, and he and his granddaughter would choose it no matter what, insisting that they liked it the most. Then, they could naturally round this matter up and make the engagement official. But never in his wildest dreams would he have imagined that the kid would take out a piece of stone. What kind of logic was this? Could it be that this kid decided to go back on his words, purposely using this kind of method to escape? This matter had turned serious now. On the side, Chao Guofeng and the rest were all so anxious that they could hardly sit still. When they saw that old Miao making things difficult for their disciple, demanding a present, they'd immediately gone to prepare. Bai Chi Feng had even dug out the huge precious gem on his sword and was prepared to pass it to him secretly to use as a gift. Although it wouldn't necessarily be the best, it was at least much more presentable. With young Lady Miao's help, it wasn't a difficult thing to pass through this crisis. But who would have thought that before they could even more, this kid would stand out by himself and declare that he was going to send up a stone as a gift? In that instant, Bai Chi Feng, who had painstakingly dug out the gem on his sword, was fuming so hard that his nose had nearly turned crooked. Only Miao Xiao Miao was smiling calmly as a deep confidence sat in her heart. She'd already decided that even if Mo Junyi really took out a common pebble he'd found at the side of the road, she would hug it and declare that it's the best item out of all the presents. All the most priceless treasures in the world could not compare to a present that was given by a lover. Even if it was just a cup of air. As long as it was a gift from him, it would be the most precious thing in the world. With Miao Xiao Miao's current status, would she still care about any rare treasures? Gems and diamonds may be precious, but weren't they still just stones at the end of the day? Under the disbelieving eyes of the crowd, Jun Moxie slowly reached a hand into his shirt. When he pulled it out again, there was really a piece of stone sitting on his palm. It was a very uneven and rough stone, only about the size of a fist. It could not be said to be round and could not be said to be flat. It wasn't even squarish looking. Apart from looking somewhat sparkly, there was truly nothing unique about it. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 1043. Shocked to the extreme. While everyone was shocked, they were even more so, could not believe their eyes. It was really a regular stone. When they heard him say that the stone he was gifting could barely be called a rare item, the crowd threw that it was perhaps a uniquely shaped stone that was formed naturally. Although that would still be somewhat cheap, it could still reluctantly be accepted as a gift. But no one had expected that this kid would really take out such a common stone that nobody would look at even if it were left at the side of the road. Furthermore, it was so small. What could it be used for? Hey, if it were bigger, it would take up even more space, making it even more useless. This kid wouldn't be stirring up trouble on purpose, right? Some among the crowd thought in a gleeful manner. It's actually, really, a stone. Ha 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 ha. Chiu Peng was also stunned for a moment, before he suddenly hugged his stomach and roared with laughter until tears flowed down his cheeks. Mo Jun Xie. Ha ha ha. You bumpkin must have really hurt your brain from being too poor. To actually take out a stone like this on the Manor Lord's birthday, you actually had the face to do it. I really have to hand it to you. What kind of present is this? Do you treat all of us as blind people? Whether you're blind or not is something that I can't determine. However, I like this stone very much. It's such a beautiful stone. Miao Xiao Miao walked out and looked unblinkingly at the stone in Jun Moxie's hand as though she were looking at the prettiest thing in the world. This is too pretty. Moxie, can I touch it? Miao Xiao Miao had already decided that the moment Mo Jun Xie passed the stone to her, she would instantly bury it in her embrace and declare that this was her favorite present. In any case, no one could possibly pry the stone away from her grasp. Besides, she was not lying at all. Any present that came from Mo Jun Xie was the best present to her. Miss Miao. Little sister Xiao Miao. You can twist the facts like that? Chiu Peng cried out in an anxious manner. But what they hadn't noticed was that in the instant that Mo Jun Xie took out the stone, none of the experts at the Saint Emperor level and above had mocked him or questioned him. Instead, all of them stood up together as they stared at the stone with a wolf-like greed in their eyes. All the peak experts could not help but fix their eyes on this stone in a serious manner. Their greedy gazes was as if they wanted to directly swallow this stone into their stomachs. That's right. All of them had the same thought, which was to swallow this stone with one gulp. Even Miao Jingyun forgot to speak for a short time as he opened his mouth slightly and looked unblinkingly at the stone. After a long time, he finally lifted his head slowly and looked at Jun Moxie. Lord Miao, I wonder if this junior stone was a satisfactory present? Jun Moxie said with a faint smile and tossed the stone towards the table filled with gifts. Don't throw it. Be careful. Ah. Feck. Be careful. In that moment, over 100 old voices screamed in unison. All the experts, including the Saint Venerables, panicked, as their faces turned pale in an instant. Countless afterimages and shadows flashed through the hall, as the winds howled within the great hall. White shadows flew across the ground, among which was an eye-catching red shadow. This was clearly the main character of today's birthday celebration, Miao Jingyun. All the peak experts had not hesitated to use their fastest movement techniques as they dashed towards the falling stone. Chiu Peng, who was standing near the table and blocking the way, was directly kicked away like a ball by a Saint Venerable. Another Saint Venerable, who was positioned behind the table, stretched out his hand and with a swift sweep, all the presents were smacked onto the ground, many of them breaking into pieces. Even that 1,000-year longevity pine was broken and destroyed, and its neat pine needles were sent flying everywhere. That Saint Venerable completely did not have the slightest intention to stop as he shot forward, stretching his hand out wide towards the small stone. In that instant, There was only that small stone in all those peak experts' eyes. Nothing else mattered. After images filled the hall, and after some time, it finally stopped. A fourth-level Saint Venerable was cradling the small stone in his hands as he stood at the center. Numerous Saint Venerables and Saint Emperors surrounded him, staring voraciously at the little stone in his hand. From the looks of it, they were slightly wary of the old man's strength, and also afraid that the stone would accidentally be harmed. Otherwise, they would have charged up to snatch it from him long ago. As for the fourth-level Saint Venerable in the middle, he stared at the stone in his palm and swallowed visibly. As the mouthful of saliva traveled down his throat, the sounds of swallowing appeared everywhere as well. From the looks of it, all the peak experts had swallowed together. After a long time, the fourth-level Saint Venerable forced his head up with great effort, then lowered his eyes to look at the stone in his hand again, before tearing his eyes away and saying in a greatly parched voice, "It's actually, the gift, may Manor Lord, please accept it." As he said that, his lips trembled, as if he were exceptionally unwilling to let go. He seemed as if he were already on the verge of tears. Such a rare treasure. No! This was a godly treasure that was difficult to find even once in millions and millions of years. To have to give it away like this with his own hands, the pain in this Saint Venerable's heart was simply too overwhelming. Miao Jingyun let loose a sigh of relief and laughed happily, quickly grabbing the precious stone. This present that the young rascal Mo had given to this old man, this old man, shall shamelessly accept it, Even as he spoke, his hands moved with the speed of lightning as he stowed the stone deeply into the inner pocket of his robe, as if he were afraid of it getting snatched away. At the same time, his old face became flushed with an irritated redness. "Esteemed Manor Lord, that. The fourth-level Saint Venerable that had just handed over the stone suddenly said in a fawning manner that even other youngsters would disdain to do. "Esteemed Manor Lord, cough, this old man had been stuck at this bottleneck for 400 years already. I wonder, cough, if it's possible, to just ask for a bit of powder, cough. The instant he said those words, all the Saint Venerable experts stared at him with rage. Shameless. You'd only been stuck at the bottleneck for 400 years. Which of the experts here hadn't been stuck at their bottleneck for several hundred years? There are some that are even stuck for 1,000 years. What is a mere 400 years counted as? A bit of powder, you're making it sound so simple. That stone is only so large. How much powder is there available even if it was all scraped out? Why don't you go and rob?" And, although this was a present that the little brat had given to this old man, but since it had appeared in our misty illusory manner, it should naturally be shared, cough. After today, this old man will organize another gathering, and everyone can discuss how we should deal with it. Miao Jingyun's old face twitched as he said with some heartache. Seeing all the expectant gazes around him, Miao Jingyun felt exceedingly bitter in his heart. Feck. This is clearly a present that others had given to me for my birthday. It's something that belongs to me by right. How did it become a public property all of a sudden? This little brat is also too inconsiderate. How could he take something so good out in view in public eye? If he'd passed it to this old man in private, how much trouble would have been avoided? This scene had caused the rest of the crowd who hadn't reached a high enough cultivation realm to all look at each other in a dumbfounded manner. What was this situation? Had the entire Misty Illusory Manor's high echelon members all gone crazy? Especially the young master Chiu Peng that was hobbling back into the great hall with difficulty after being kicked out. His face was filled with even greater disbelief. What was going on? Li Xingyu and the others also had looks of confusion on their faces. This was a little too ridiculous, wasn't it? Was there a need to go that far? Wasn't it just a marriage between little sister Xiao Miao and Mo Junyi? To think that so many old fellows had come together to put on such a jaw-dropping show. Going to such great efforts to fight over that inconspicuous stone. Wasn't this too much? Manor Lord, that stone, is obviously just a very ordinary stone. It's one thing for little sister Xiao Miao to want to distort the facts since she was clearly deceived by an evil person. But you seniors are all peak experts of this world. How can you invert right and wrong like this? This junior is not convinced. Chiu Peng cried out in a wronged manner. He thought that he had just been one move away from being able to hug the beauty home. But for such a ridiculous scene to appear all of a sudden, Chiu Peng's mind was completely filled with disbelief and a great unwillingness. Shut up! Over 100 voices roared together with rage. In an instant, a powerful gush of qi surged up like an angry river, blasting towards this young master Chiu Peng. The rage of over 100 saint emperors and saint venerables could not be underestimated. With a loud bang, Chiu Peng was blasted out as though he was treading on clouds. After a long time, a soft bang could be heard far in the distance. Not only had the Chiu family's Chiu Chengyun not tried to stand up for his grandson, his face was instead wreathed with anger as well. The loudest "shut up" just now had even come from this Chiu family patriarch. At the same time, countless disdainful and mocking gazes landed on Chiu Chengyun's body, causing the latter to lower his head with embarrassment. This was truly too shameful. Even if one was ignorant, they should at least have some common sense. Even if you don't have any common sense, is it so hard to keep your mouth shut like everyone else? Did you have to shout so loudly to show off your stupidity? This is great now. Our Chiu family's face had all been destroyed by that one shout. Miao Xiao Miao's little mouth was also opened wide with shock, unable to say a single word. After a long time, she finally turned her head and looked at Jun Moxie's face in a questioning manner. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 1044. Mount Everest. Jun Moxie shrugged innocently, and a little helplessly. I don't know. I'm not sure. What is going on? This matter has really exceeded young Master Jun's expectations. That piece of stone was the few fragments of the spirit vein that he had knocked off from back when he was with Mei Shuiyan. Most of it had been taken by Mei Shuiyan to increase the strength of Tian Fa Forest. Jun Moxie only had these few tiny pieces on him. The one he had brought out this time was the smallest of them all. Young Master Jun knew that this stone was a coveted item and was enough to shock the entire crowd, but he had never expected that this tiny amount of it had triggered such a huge uproar. This was too stunning. This brother had only thought of how to start this matter, but he did not think of the process and the outcome. After the initial shock, everyone's gazes were locked on Jun Moxie. This brat is really fecking heaven-defying. Ah! To be able to bring out something this great. This. Mo Junyi. This piece of stone, cough cough, where exactly did you get it from? The moment Miao Jingyun said this, everyone's ears perked up. Indeed. Since there is a first, there may be a second. If we know roughly where it was picked up from, perhaps that place still has a third or fourth piece. If there are more surprises, then it'll really be. It was like this. When I was roughly 8 years old, Jun Moxie had begun spinning his story, which was his forte. There was nothing to eat then. I was awfully hungry, So I went into the mountains looking for some wild fruits to eat. Then I suddenly met with a landslide which almost buried me alive. It was really unlucky. Young Master Jun blabbered on vividly. Everyone let out a cry, suddenly coming to realization. No wonder. So it was a landslide. I say, how could something this good just fall into the hands of this lad? And he dares to call himself unlucky when he obtains something like this? Is this called unlucky? Why didn't I met with this sort of bad luck then? All these peak experts had the same thought as they listened to young Master Jun's recount. Just when I thought I was doomed, suddenly, 2 pieces of stone smashed right into my head, barely knocking me unconscious. Jun Moxie rubbed his head, as if the fear from that incident still lingers on his mind. Then I reached my hand out and removed these 2 pieces of stones. There was one of them that was slightly smaller, and it was even a little soft to the touch. I was really too hungry then, and this stone was giving off a fragrance, so I swallowed the smaller one. I was really too hungry. How could I care so much? Instantly, all the experts hammered at their chests hearing this. Such a great pity. This really was a cow chewing on a peony. A complete waste of heavenly goods. After I ate it, I instantly felt full, so I napped. After I woke up, I still did not feel hungry, and the injuries from the landslide all healed. When the stomach is full, the body will have strength and energy, so I thought of returning home. I thought, that stone is most likely something good. At least, it can be eaten. So in the future, if I'm hungry again, I can use it to replenish my strength. So I carried the other piece. When my master found me and I showed him the stone, he did not recognize what it was. So he only told me to keep it properly, which I did until today. Jun Moxie gave an embarrassed laugh. I really don't have anything else I can offer for the Manor Lord's birthday today, so I brought it out to make do. This thing is still acceptable, right? Still acceptable, right? All the experts wanted to faint from this sentence of his. Not only is it still acceptable, it is too acceptable. And you still talk about having nothing suitable to offer. This is not the way to insult others. If this thing is not suitable to be offered, then what else is considered suitable to be offered up in this world? At the same time, all of them broke out in cold sweat. Fecking hell. You own this sort of mythical treasure, and you still dared to carry it around and show it off in front of so many people this casually? Everyone could barely breathe thinking of this. What a close one. If someone else had seen this thing before and was coincidentally familiar with it, then we wouldn't even have our turn. And to think that this fellow carried it along with him everywhere he goes. Thinking of using it to curb his hunger when there was no food? Did he think he was carrying a huge bun everywhere he does? Everyone's minds were in a state of chaos. They rejoiced internally. Thank goodness Tianxiang has been peaceful for these while. If this brat got hungry, then the consequences are really unimaginable. What is that mountain called? Miao Jingyun represented everyone and asked the question that everyone wanted to ask the most. That was a desert mountain. There is no name for it. But I had heard from the local villagers that the mountain is called Mount Everest. Jun Moxie carefully replied. All you old fogies, go ahead and search. Even if you flip this entire world upside down, you will never be able to find Mount Everest. Mount Everest. Everyone let out a long, deep sigh as they secretly etched this bizarre mountain and its bizarre name into their minds. Seniors, I saw how you guys were earlier. Could it be that this stone is really very precious? Young Master Jun gave a naive expression and acted innocent. Precious? This sort of heavenly object. How could it be described with merely precious? A saint venerable hollered angrily. And stop calling it stone. This sort of addressment of it is blasphemy to it. The little stone you speak of is the legendary heavenly jade. Do you know what it is now? With this, even those who were confused and unaware of that stone also broke into an uproar. Heavenly jade. To think that it was the heavenly jade. To think that it was that mythical, divine, sacred object. Legends had it that just scraping a bit of its powder was enough to allow one to increase in hundreds of years' worth of strength. Eating an entire piece of it allowed one to shatter the void. Heavenly jade. Ah! Instantly, everyone was full of jealousy. Seeing this sort of situation, Miao Jingyun angrily glared at that saint venerable. That saint venerable also realized that he had blurted out a secret and couldn't help but turn red from embarrassment. Cough. Cough. Everyone, please settle down. Please listen to what this old man, the host, has to say. Miao Jingyun coughed and stretched his hands out to gesture for everyone to settle down. After a while, everyone finally quietened down. But there was still the red flush from the agitation on their faces. The gifts today. Miao Jingyun subconsciously glanced over to the table, only to realize that it was in an extremely clean state. All those treasures and valuable gifts had already turned into garbage. Cough, cough, cough. Although the gifts had all turned to garbage, Manor Lord was extremely elated. Obtaining the heavenly jade. Even if all these gifts turned into ashes, he wouldn't be bothered by it. He coughed a couple more times and said, "This old man likes the gift Mo Junyi had offered the most. And it is also the most precious, unique, and meaningful. I believe that everyone will no longer have any arguments." All the old fogies nodded their heads. Precious, unique, and meaningful. Maybe not. But you liking it? Definitely correct. And it exceeded the original expectations. What a joke. If this sort of divine object was unable come in first, then it'll really be illogical. Since everyone else has no objections, then Mo Junyi is the son-in-law of the Miao family, little Miao's husband. Today, there are two simultaneous happy events in the family. First, is this old man's celebration of his 500th birthday. Second, it is the day my granddaughter Xiao Miao found her ideal husband and their engagement date. I invite everyone to drink to your heart's content and get thoroughly drunk. With this statement, the crowd below began to turn lively again. There were many envious and jealous looks in the eyes of many young lads. Look at him. It really is, sigh. He only gave something he didn't even know what it was. And he obtained such a beautiful bride. Sigh. It really is infuriating, ah. And old Manor Lord is also really, no matter how precious that gift is. You are just going to sell your granddaughter off like that? Such a beautiful woman is going to be offered to him like that. Miao Jingyun had just finished speaking, when Saint Emperor Chao Guofeng immediately stood up. His face flushed as he announced, "Today is the day my disciple Jun Yi and young lady Miao is engaged. And also the 500th birthday of the great Manor Lord. It is truly a double blessing, ah. I, Chao Guofeng, am also honored." Not only was it an honor, Saint Emperor Chao's grin was practically reaching his ears. All the experts looked at that lucky Saint Emperor Chao in envy and jealousy. Most of them were feeling irritated. They almost had the massive urge to beat up Saint Emperor Chao. The hell are you getting so gleeful for? Look at how red your old face is from smiling. How irksome for the eyes. The moment Chao Guofeng stood out, Bai Chi Feng and the rest also stood right behind him. They were all proud and pleased. They all had a part of this disciple, so naturally they'd be drinking the tea from their future disciple daughter-in-law. Just the thought of it was exhilarating. When Chao Guofeng was done talking, the master of ceremonies leapt out again. Right now, may I invite the two newlyweds to exchange their token of engagement, to signify the tying of their marriage. Miao Xiao Miao no longer had that heroic spirit from earlier. She was so bashful that her entire body was practically turning jelly, but her heart was full of happiness and satisfaction. Madame Miao brought out a wooden sword that was completely pitch black and handed it over solemnly. Everyone present exclaimed in surprise. The origins of this wooden sword were not ordinary. It was made from the wood that has naturally fallen off from the rainbow holy tree. Carrying it had the magical effects of achieving a clear and tranquil state of mind as well as protection against all sorts of evil. It was considered a treasure that was extremely difficult to obtain. When it was Jun Moxie's turn, young Master Jun was in trouble. He had just given that stone away as a birthday gift just now. If he brought another one out at a time like this, wouldn't it cause a riot? Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 1045. One pill is one heavenly tribulation. If it were other treasures, regardless of whether it was those divine medicinal herbs or heavenly treasure, it was chicken feet for young Master Jun to whip them out. But those items did not have the slightest latency, and any random one of them would be sufficient to shock the world. And they were definitely not what Jun Moxie's current identity should be owning. If he said that he got lucky and chanced upon it again, would anyone believe it? After a lengthy consideration, Jun Moxie finally dug out a small jade bottle and coughed dryly. I really do not have anything up to scratch on me. But these are 3 pills that my master had emptied all his savings and asked an old friend to purchase on his behalf. He had said that only people who have attained the realm of a spirit Xian and above have the right to use these 3 pills. I have disappointed my master's expectations and am still far from being adequate, but Miss Miao has already exceeded that requisite. I'll use this as my token. No one knew whether to laugh or cry. This great prodigy Mo was really full of originality. He first gave a stone as a birthday gift. Now the betrothal gift was medicine. Oh, I wonder what sort of medicinal pill is that? To have such a bizarre requisite. A Saint Venerable suddenly stepped out. Jun Moxie found this person awfully familiar, but he just couldn't recall where he had seen this old man. This senior is one of the elders in the Miao family. In terms of seniority, he is 2 generations older than grandfather. This old ancestor is called Miao Bujian. He has been studying herbal medicine and plants for his entire life. He is very well versed in this respect. In the misty illusory manner, he has the reputation of the king of medicine. Miao Xiao Miao whispered into young Master Jun's ear and gave a brief introduction. Jun Moxie only felt a wave of intoxicating fragrance hitting him. Miao Xiao Miao's soft, petal-like lips were almost going to touch his skin. Young Master Jun instantly felt tingly all over, practically not paying attention to what she was saying. He subconsciously turned his head. Miao Xiao Miao couldn't duck in time and her lips immediately brushed against Jun Moxie's ear. Her face instantly flushed red as she secretly rolled her eyes at him and whined. You're so bad. Jun Moxie chuckled. Women love the bad boys. Miao Bujian took the jade bottle and opened it, gently taking a whiff of its contents. His face instantly turned serious. After a while, he said solemnly, these 3 medicinal pills naturally are inferior to the heavenly jade's divinely effects. But they are also a priceless treasure. Any random one is filled with an unusually enormous amount of pure heaven-earth spiritual qi. If it is used, it definitely has the effect of increasing one's strength. And with no future risks. No wonder this pill had such high requisites for its use. With the medicinal effects of this pill, if anyone who is beneath a spirit xian in his cultivation recklessly consumes it, they will immediately explode and die. It is truly divine medicine. Ah. He then let out a long sigh. His gaze fixated on the small jade bottle as he mumbled, "This old man has been obsessed in the path of medicine and pills. But I had never imagined that such a miraculous technique existed in this world. This sort of pill, in terms of medicinal properties, is very similar to those auctioned in the aristocratic hall of the Xian continent. But its effectiveness is way superior. It can be said to be a valuable treasure that is hard to come by." Jun Moxie jolted. He knows about the medicines of the aristocratic hall. No wonder he looked so familiar, but who exactly is this person? I don't believe it. The one who had spoken was Chiu Peng, who was covered in dust and hobbling with a crippled leg. He was knocked unconscious by the joint force released by all the experts earlier. He had just come back and only to hear the outcome of Miao Xiao Miao's engagement. Not only was it an engagement, they were even exchanging their tokens now. How could Chiu Peng accept this sort of sudden change? Young Master Chiu completely lost his bearings and began to bellow his grievances. Aren't you guys too much? Even if you have acknowledged this free and natural physique Mo Jun Xie, but any item he brings out is an extraordinary treasure. The first one. The second one too. How can a country bumpkin like him have so many good things? This is too fake. Are you trying to fool a 3-year-old? Are you doubting the conclusion this old man has given? Miao Bujian asked disdainfully, looking at him from the corner of his eyes. Who do you think you are? To dare to doubt this old man's judgment? Disgraceful wretch. What are you standing there for? Chiu Chengyun quickly yelled, before laughing apologetic to Miao Bujian. Old Senior Miao is a magnanimous person. Please don't lower yourself to the same level as these ignorant juniors. After I go back, I'll definitely thoroughly discipline this disgraceful thing. Miao Bujian was not only strong, attaining the realm of a saint venerable, but he also had the good reputation of the king of medicine. No matter how severe the injury, how everyone else ran out of ideas to treat it, as long as he intervened, they'd immediately be saved. He could be said to be an extremely unique existence that was most popular in the misty illusory manner. Not forgetting that he was 2 generations the senior of the Miao family. Although Chiu Chengyun was also a patriarch, but if he had really offended Miao Bujian, he would definitely suffer the mass attack of everyone in the misty illusory manner. Miao Bujian scoffed heavily. Ignorant brat. What has the Chiu family been teaching? It is the Manor Lord's birthday celebration today. To allow a child run his mouth off like this. Did you intend to come and stir trouble? Huge beads of perspiration formed on Chiu Chengyun's head upon hearing this. This was not a light accusation to carry. Ah! Not only was Chiu Peng unable to bear it, even the entire Chiu family combined could barely suffice carrying this crime. There's no harm. Senior Miao, please be appeased. Since there are people doubting it, there is no harm in letting Miss Miao use one of the pills on the spot right now to test its effects. Since this junior is also curious about this final gift my previous master left me with. Jun Moxie smiled and said. What he had brought out was the Heaven Extremes pill. Consuming one was sufficient to increase one's cultivation by 60 years. And the unique thing about this pill is that it could be repeatedly used. As long as one doesn't exceed using 3 of it, its effects would be completely absorbed by the consumer. In other words, These 3 pills could allow anyone to increase 180 years' worth of strength. This was definitely an incomprehensible miracle to people who did not understand the art of pills raffination. So it was understandable that people had doubts about it. That is also a good idea. Miao Bujian was honestly very interested to see the effects of this type of pills. He only considered for a while before agreeing to it. He had judged from the aura these pills had exuded that the strength it could boost for its user was not a small amount. Such a miraculous pill, if he was able to witness someone breaking through after consuming it, it would definitely unveil a whole new world for himself. So Miao Bujian was also a little eager. Are you really sure? Miao Xiao Miao looked at Jun Moxie with a hint of worry in her eyes, as she held on to one pill. Don't worry. It'll be all right. Jun Moxie gave her a reassuring smile. Just use it. My master won't lie. I trust you. Miao Xiao Miao looked at him lovingly and put the pill into her mouth, before sitting down cross-legged. Even if Jun Moxie had brought out a poison, for the sake of proving its authenticity, Miao Xiao Miao would also swallow it without any hesitation. What more a miraculous pill like this? Although Miao Xiao Miao didn't know of the effects of this pill, but out of her unconditional trust in Jun Moxie, she swallowed it with no hesitation. The moment the pill reached her stomach, Miao Xiao Miao immediately felt an unusually pure xian qi surging from her dantian. It instantly circulated about her entire body, and her own xian qi began to burn like wood catching on fire. This surge of spirit energy that had suddenly began to burn was immediately detected by all the experts who were venerable and above. Feeling the surge of spiritual qi in the air, everyone had a fervent look in their eyes when they looked at this tiny jade bottle. Right now, there was no longer anyone who had any doubts about the effects of the pills being able to increase its user's strength. Meditate. Miao Jingyun was shocked seeing this situation. He immediately got behind his granddaughter and pressed his palms against her back, circulating his own xian qi to help Miao Xiao Miao digest the pill's effects. Right now, this was what the xian qi inside Miao Xiao Miao's body needed to break through. No one had expected that what Miao Bujian had done earlier, what seemed like an exaggerated praise, had turned out to be real. A tiny pill like this could have such tyrannical effects. With the aid of Miao Jingyun and the other saint venerables and their powerful strength, Miao Xiao Miao did not take long to completely digest the effects of this heaven extremes pill completely. She slowly stood up from the ground. The xian qi in her meridians were circulating non-stop, and she had already broken through the bottleneck and reached the realm of a second-level venerable. She was surprised and elated by this surprising breakthrough. Oh no! This is bad. Miao Jingyun's face changed and he said softly. The clear, bright skies suddenly darkened, and giant, dark clouds begin to form and swirl, slowly forming into a circular shape of an eye. A cloud eye appeared. The heavenly tribulation arrived. Miao Xiao Miao's unexpected breakthrough had attracted a heavenly tribulation. The faces of everyone present changed. She had merely used a single pill, and it immediately brought about a heavenly tribulation. How heaven-defying was this pill? After the initial shock, everyone began to fall into a state of worry and concern. Had Miao Xiao Miao accumulated and built up her strength slowly by cultivation to break through, it was no big deal enduring this heavenly tribulation. It would not be easy, but it would not be too difficult either. A second-level venerable's heavenly tribulation began from lightning tribulation, so it was not very intense. But right now, Miao Xiao Miao had achieved her breakthrough by borrowing the strength and effects of the pill. She was not able to utilize the newly obtained strength and adjust to her new realm. It was highly difficult for her to get through this heavenly tribulation. But heavenly tribulation was something that no one else could intervene and help with. The moment one tried to help, they'd only be throwing themselves into the pit as well. Most importantly, the heavenly tribulation would also adjust the intensity of the lightning tribulation accordingly to the strength of the person helping. Recklessly intervening would not only not help, it'd bring more harm to Miao Xiao Miao. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 1046. The Tremors of a Young Woman's Heart. Sharing life and death together. Was today's great occasion going to have a tragedy because of this heavenly tribulation that suddenly arrived? Instantly, everyone glared angrily at Chiu Peng. If not because you had blabbered your mouth, why would something this unlucky happen? After this day, Chiu Peng became the target of scorn of the entire misty illusory manor, to the point everyone cursed and wanted to beat him. And this fellow had obtained a new nickname, Unlucky Idiot. Which meant that no matter where this fellow went, he'd bring bad luck to everyone. This remarkable nickname caused Chiu Peng to be cut off from everyone. Such a tragedy. Miao Xiao Miao's expression changed, looking at Jun Moxie, and she did not say a word as she walked out. This young girl resolutely chose to face this alone and not implicate anyone else. No one else spoke, because right now, no matter who spoke, it'd only affect Miao Xiao Miao's current state of mind. And that would in turn affect the outcome of this tribulation. They did not even follow. Because the moment they got too close, the heavenly tribulation would assume that they entered the boundaries of the lightning tribulation, which would bring unimaginable effects to Miao Xiao Miao. No matter how worried everyone was, they could only watch Miao Xiao Miao walk out resolutely in a flash. With Miao Xiao Miao's departure, the tribulation clouds in the skies also followed suit. All the experts had a look of pity on their faces. Clearly, they did not have a positive outlook on the outcome of Xiao Miao's tribulation this time. Madame Miao swayed and almost passed out. She leaned weakly against Miao Huanyu, preventing herself from collapsing, but her tears were rolling down. My pitiful daughter. She just obtained the happiness that she had longed for such a long time today. Is she going to lose it immediately? Heavens! Why? Why are you so cruel? So unfair? I'll go take a look. Jun Moxie, who was stunned for a moment, quickly gave chase. Do not go. Miao Huanyu only said this before being stopped by Miao Jingyun. With the meagerly strength of great prodigy Mo, he would be of no use at all, and would only become a burden. With his strength, it is not significant enough to increase Xiao Miao's burden. Just let him go and provide some emotional support. It's truly rare awe. In the face of life and death, this lad still assumes responsibility. This old man is really heartened. Miao Huanyu nodded, his voice hoarse as he said, Indeed, Xiao Miao did not pick the wrong person. A bleak smile appeared on Madame Miao's pale face as she said, sharing life and death with her husband. Mo Jun Xie. I only really acknowledge this son-in-law right now. For Xiao Miao, he doesn't fear death. Xiao Miao following him, be it in heaven or in the netherworld, will not be in vain. As her mother, I can finally rest assured. In the hall, everyone had a solemn look on their faces. Especially those few young men. All of them had a look of shame. They had just been addressing Xiao Miao as little sister Xiao Miao earlier, promising happiness and their willingness of sacrifice for her sake. But when it came down to it, only Mo Jun Xie was willing to share life and death with Miao Xiao Miao. And all the experts of the older generation were feeling very moved. What Mo Jun Xie was doing right now could not be said to be sharing life and death anymore. He was just meeting his death. The heavenly tribulation was calculated by the strength of the people and number within the affected boundaries. Although Mo Jun Xie had the legendary free and natural physique, his own cultivation was not high. He was only a golden Xian. With his addition to the heavenly tribulation, there would be a slight increase to the intensity, but it would be halved and shared between the two. What Miao Xiao Miao would have to endure would be much lesser. But Mo Jun Xie would be facing a treacherous situation. What young Master Mo was doing was the equivalent of taking his life for a bigger chance of Miao Xiao Miao's survival. How could anyone not be moved by this sort of devotion and love? The patriarch of the Qiu family, Qiu Qingyun, looked at his grandson angrily, his face turning pale from being angry as he pointed a trembling finger at him. You wretched bastard. Look at what you have done. I really don't know what to say. When we return, you immediately go into seclusion. And you are not allowed to come out without my permission. Right now, the sounds of thunder had already begun to rumble. Streaks of lightning descended. Although the place of the tribulation was far from here, it was still visible. It could be determined that Miao Xiao Miao had chosen a significantly secluded place to go through her tribulation, not affecting any family in the misty illusory manner. Li Xingyu's face was extremely dark. The vein on temple was twitching. Clearly, he could no longer hold the anger in his heart. He said coldly, Brother Qiu, didn't you always boast about liking little sister Xiao Miao? Little sister Xiao Miao is undergoing her heavenly tribulation today. And Brother Mo has already gone chasing after her with his meagerly golden Xian cultivation. You always bragged that your love for little sister Xiao Miao is as deep as the oceans. So why haven't you hurried over yet? Qiu Peng looked at the lightning outside and couldn't help but turn pale as he shivered. This is her heavenly tribulation. What has that got to do with me? I'm not going. If you want to die, you go. Li Xingyu scoffed. If you had not run your mouth earlier, why would something like this happen? Isn't everything caused because of your own jealousy? And you still dare to say such words? Are you not embarrassed? Qiu Peng tried to toughen himself up and countered. What I had brought up just now is what everyone was thinking. I only said it out. What has that got to do with me? Miss Miao is already Mo Jun Xie's fiancée, so it's natural that he hurried over. Why should I go? If Miss Miao is engaged to me today, I naturally would have hurried over. This sentence caused everyone to turn silent. Seeing the cowardly appearance of this fellow from being frightened, no one would believe that he would go. And for the sake of cutting off relations, he had even changed his usual addressment of little sister Xiao Miao to Miss Miao. Madame Miao looked at him in disbelief. Thank goodness we did not choose a husband for Xiao Miao from all these families according to the wishes of the family. Look at him. He obviously is scared of death and is still trying to argue. How can he be worthy of my daughter? Miao Xiao Miao might have appeared calm and resolute the entire journey, but her mind was in a whirl. Today was the happiest day of her entire life, because she had finally exchanged a token of love with him and became his. This was what she had yearned for her entire life. But today had also brought upon her own heavenly tribulation. If she didn't make it through, then she'd turn into ashes. Jun Xie. Why is my life so bitter? I really wish to stay together with you, bear your children, watch them grow up, grow old with you, holding your hand. But I didn't know that heaven would be unwilling to give me this opportunity. Ah! With the rapid gathering of the dark clouds, The flashes of lightning and thunder began. And she finally reached a deserted place. And the storm that had been brewing in the sky began to rain down heavily in this instant. Instantly, everything turned misty. The tribulation clouds in the skies began to gather thicker and thicker, turning slower and slower. The first lightning tribulation was about to descend. At this moment, the clear sound of quick footsteps could be heard. I'm about to go through my tribulation. How can there be someone who dares to come? Who is it that comes? Miao Xiao Miao turned around in shock. Through the heavy rain, she could only see a white figure rushing over at high speed. An extremely ordinary face. His eyes full of sincerity and a grin. It was Monarch Jun Xie, her own fiancé. Miao Xiao Miao almost fainted. A mixture of blissfulness and worry invaded her heart. Why did you come? What are you doing here for? Hurry up and go back. Don't come any closer. Don't come over. Don't. Ah! Miao Xiao Miao shouted in shock. Right now, she was not worrying for herself. Her entire heart was worrying for this ordinary youth before her. It's too dangerous. Although it is dangerous for me to go through my tribulation here, there is still a glimpse of hope for me. But with his meagerly cultivation, it is the same as sending himself to doom. How could you forget? We are already engaged. Right now, you are my wife. My woman. Jun Moxie smiled and said, wherever my wife is, I naturally will follow. Husband and wife are one. Now that we have met with an issue, where is the logic in leaving my wife to carry it all on her own? That's too insulting to my pride as a man. Are we really supposed to go our own ways when a disaster falls upon us? I cannot control what others choose, but I definitely will not do that. You. Miao Xiao Miao could only manage one word before her tears came flowing out and blurring her entire vision. My fiancé. The person I love. Rushing over at the point of my life and death. Sharing life and death with me. Knowing that doing this, he was only sending himself to death. But he still came without any hesitation. Right now, Miao Xiao Miao's heart was filled with endless and immense bliss. Although this youth before her was very uncouth in his speech, but she knew that he purposely spoke this way to reduce the mental pressure on herself. Miao Xiao Miao looked at Jun Moxie infatuatedly. She had forgotten about the tribulation clouds in the sky. She had forgotten to gather all her xian qi in preparation. She forgot that she was on the brink of life and death. She only looked at him, unblinkingly, as if she wanted to carve this face into her heart. No matter which lifetime, she must remember it. Jun Xie, my lover. Suddenly, all the hesitation, reluctance, fear, self-pity, and apprehensions had all vanished. Only resolution and determination remained. And an enormous amount of self-confidence. Today, I must hang in there. For him. I must not die. I absolutely must not die. Miao Xiao Miao looked at Jun Moxie lovingly and gently smiled. Jun. I have received your thoughts. But you won't be able to help me even if you intervene. Just hide first. Wait for me to get through this. Then, I'll be your woman. Wait for me. You must wait for me. I'll definitely get through it. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 1047. Terrifying Heavenly Might. No. Jun Moxie shook his head and smiled serenely. This test belongs to both of us. We must face it alongside with each other. Not only this one before us right now, even the next one, the one that follows after. It'll all be undergone by both of us together. Believe me. When I am around, we will definitely make it. Miao Xiao Miao bit her lip, nodding her head heavily. Then, she gently pressed her petite body into the embrace of this man, her small head leaning against his shoulder. Miao Xiao Miao whispered, Jun. Having you in this lifetime. I'm really happy and blissful. Even if I don't make it through this tribulation, I do not have any regrets in this life anymore. Jun Moxie hugged her and said, How can you have no regrets? You have yet to bear me children yet. Bring our children up together. And grow old together. How can you say that you have no regrets in this life so casually? Aren't you a little too unambitious? Even if you have no regrets, I won't agree with it. The heavy rain continued to pour down. Both of them were completely drenched. The weather had been hot recently, so the clothes they wore were extremely light and thin. Miao Xiao Miao's clothes clung onto her frame, showing off all her curves. Hugging each other like this was no different from two naked bodies hugging together. But there was no lust on their minds, only love. This moment, there was an unusually firm faith in Miao Xiao Miao's heart. Jun Yi is with me. Nothing must happen to him. If I don't make it, neither will he. But I definitely will not allow that sort of thing to happen. As long as I feel that I can no longer bear it, I'll commit suicide first. If I die, the heavenly tribulation will naturally disappear too. That way, Jun Yi will be safe. A loud clap of thunder rang across the skies. A flash of lightning descended, striking right at Miao Xiao Miao's head. The first wave of heavenly tribulation had finally arrived. Get away a little. Miao Xiao Miao suddenly snapped back to her senses, her xian qi circulating about in a frenzy. In her business, she still sent out a gentle force to push Jun Moxie aside. At a crucial time like this, any tiniest bit of xian qi could affect the outcome of the heavenly tribulation. But as long as it could get her lover slightly further away from danger, Miao Xiao Miao didn't scrimp on using that gentle but forceful force to push Jun Moxie away. At the same time, she rose up to the skies to meet with the lightning in the air. Staying on the ground would definitely affect her lover. So she could only offset the threat in the air. Boom! That lightning tribulation came striking down, but it also vanished afterwards. She barely had time to catch her breath when the second came down from the clouds with dazzling brightness. Along with the loud sound of the second strike of lightning, Miao Xiao Miao returned back onto the ground. Jun Moxie watched this from the side. His eyes were narrowed, but his expression was clearly calm. It was not like he wished to simply use the Hongjun Pagoda to absorb this heavenly tribulation and end this game. But the game this time was the first heavenly tribulation Miao Xiao Miao experienced personally. No matter what, he must let her experience it personally. Only when she had personally experienced this sort of heavenly might would she be able to achieve enlightenment and truly have the strength of a venerable. This was like a phoenix bathing in flames and being reborn from its ashes. If Jun Moxie ended this dangerous game right from the beginning, it would only bring harm to Miao Xiao Miao's future developments and would defeat the purpose of giving away the Heaven Extremes pill. Only when her faith began to falter, then he'd intervene. Right now, he only needed to see how long she could hang in there for. 1, 2, 5. From afar, in the hall of the Miao residence, Miao Jingyun was furrowing his brows as he observed the lightning that descended from the sky endlessly, counting every one of them. His expression turned more and more solemn as he counted. This venerable heavenly tribulation that Miao Xiao Miao was facing this time may be extremely dangerous in its process. But the duration was relatively short. There were only 9 lightning tribulations, which was the most ordinary heavenly tribulation. If not because of the effects of the heaven extremes pill which pushed Miao Xiao Miao right to the point of a tribulation without any preparation, it was not too difficult. It is already the 7th. As long as she makes it through the last 2, then she would have survived through this round. Xiao Miao definitely will be able to go through this tribulation peacefully. She definitely can. Miao Huanyu was also counting the number of times the lightning came down. His face was still calm. But Madame Miao, who was leaning against him, could feel the trembling hands of her husband, grabbing on her own shoulder so strongly that it hurt. This hand was originally for supporting herself. Madame Miao laughed bitterly and endured the throbbing pain as she looked at the thick, dark clouds in the distance. Her husband always looked like he didn't bother about anything, always calm and serene, but he had never fallen short in his love for his daughter. Him telling her to relax, saying things like she would definitely make it, was more like him trying to comfort himself as opposed to comforting Madame Miao. Throughout this entire life, this is the first time I've seen him this nervous. The lightning tribulation is still going on. That proves that they're still going through it. It'll be all right. Miao Jingyun muttered softly, directing it at no one in particular, as if he were also saying it in an attempt to comfort himself, yet at the same time, as if he were seeking some sort of affirmation. It's already the 7th lightning. Miao Xiao Miao looked at the tribulation clouds in the skies willfully, tightly biting on her ponytail. As long as I endure 2 more, this heavenly punishment will completely end. Then, I can spend my life with Jun Yi. He just told me that he wants to watch our children grow up and grow old together. She subconsciously turned her head over to look at that youth donned in white standing not far away, seeing the heavy look of concern on his face. Although Miao Xiao Miao's entire body was in pain, a sudden surge of sweetness and blissfulness filled her heart. An unexplainable surge of energy filled her body once again. I'll definitely make it through. I will. Stubbornness filled Miao Xiao Miao's eyes. The happiness I had sought for so long is right before my eyes. I absolutely will not give up. I'll grasp it with my own hands even if it costs me my life. Thunder clapped and lightning flashed. A powerful bolt of lightning came piercing through the clouds and struck down. The air crackled with the sudden appearance of this lightning bolt. And the thickness of this bolt of lightning was at least 2 times thicker than before. A heavy, suffocating pressure filled the air. Flashes of lightning came cutting through the air. That bolt of lightning encompassing a powerful might already arrived above Miao Xiao Miao's head in the blink of an eye. Miao Xiao Miao could distinctly tell that all the strength she had right now was useless against this bolt of lightning. Trying to face it was as pointless as an ant trying to shake a tree. The power of this bolt of lightning had surpassed the extents of a venerable's heavenly tribulation. Significantly, even if a saint emperor came to face this lightning personally, he would not be able to bear it. Why would such a situation occur? What is going on? Could it be that heavens ultimately are unwilling to let me obtain the true love that I've desired and yearned for? Naturally, Miao Xiao Miao was unaware that because of young Master Jun's intervention, it had triggered a change in the heavenly punishment. His concealed strength was that of a shocking 4th-level Saint Emperor. Perhaps other people may not be able to tell, but the heavenly punishment would never be wrong. This lightning tribulation came striking down accordingly to the strength of a Saint Emperor's heavenly tribulation. And it was an extreme lightning tribulation with the might of a 4th-level Saint Emperor. Miao Xiao Miao turned her head in the direction of Jun Moxie in despair. Sobbing, She said. Jun. I'm sorry. It looks like I cannot accompany you. I'm destined to be unable to grow old with you anymore. The menacing lightning bolt was about to strike her. Miao Xiao Miao drew her sword. Not to take on the lightning tribulation, but for committing suicide. The lightning tribulation came for me. As long as I die, all of this will disappear. But then, Miao Xiao Miao's eyes widened. That fool, he is flying over here. Why did you come? Don't come over. Ah! Miao Xiao Miao, who was about to end her own life, was instantly at a loss about what to do. Fool! As long as I die first, this heavenly tribulation will be over. You will be safe. Why are you coming over for? Hurry up and go back. Ah! Tears poured out of Miao Xiao Miao's eyes. The next moment, she felt a warm body pressing down heavily onto her own, enveloping and covering her own body in that safe embrace. But this act of concern had caused Miao Xiao Miao's heart to break. The sword in her hand was knocked far away, landing with a clang. Miao Xiao Miao felt her heart wrenched, breaking into loud cry. Jun Yi. I don't want. Ah! I don't want you to sacrifice for me. I'd rather I'm the one who die. Even if I have to die 1,000 times. 10,000 times. I also want you to live on, properly. But she knew. It was too late. Everything was too late. That bolt of lightning with terrifying power had already struck the body that was on top of her. That body convulsed violently, then stopped moving. Jun Yi. Miao Xiao Miao's entire face was covered in tears as she wailed loudly. Her voice full of despair. In the hall. No! This is impossible. Miao Jingyun jumped up, staring at that bizarre lightning in shock. His mind went blank. There was a faint tinge of redness in lightning. That clearly was the heavenly tribulation of a saint emperor. Everyone's eyes widened in shock. What was going on? Could it be that there was a saint emperor who accidentally entered the boundaries of Miao Xiao Miao's heavenly tribulation and caused the change in the heavenly tribulation? No matter what the reason behind this saint emperor lightning tribulation was, there was only one outcome: Miao Xiao Miao was doomed. Please subscribe to this channel, so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 1048. Tender Embraces Under the Heavenly Tribulation. The same thought flashed across everyone's minds. The heavenly tribulation of a saint emperor. She's a mere second-level venerable. How will she make it? The moment she comes into contact with it, she'll turn into ashes. Madame Miao's eyes were wide opened. She moaned and her entire body went limp as she fainted. Miao Huanyu watched the dark skies that remained after that dazzling lightning dissipated blankly. Then he closed his eyes tightly. The hot tears he could no longer hold back came falling down. Xiao Miao. A look of despair filled the eyes of Chao Guofeng, Bai Qi Feng, and the other saint emperors, their mouth gaping wide open. Oh no! Jun Yi. You lad. Are really foolish. Ah. No! Miao Jingyun yelled, about to charge his way over. Wait! Look! The one who held him back was that fourth-level saint venerable that had snatched the heavenly jade earlier. His cultivation was the highest amongst all those present. His eyes were still fixed at the skies as he said, "The tribulation clouds have not dispersed. What are you anxious about? The tribulation clouds have not disappeared. The tribulation clouds did not disperse. The tribulation clouds did not disperse. How is this possible? Miao Jingyun jolted and looked up at the sky. The three sentences were exactly the same, but it encompassed the emotional changes he had undergone. From doubt, to surprise, to disbelief. The eighth lightning with powerful might had ended. Under such a powerful strike, Miao Xiao Miao definitely had no chance of survival. But why did the tribulation clouds not disperse yet? The winds blew stronger as the rain poured down from the skies, turning darker. That's right. Not only did the tribulation clouds not disperse, it had become thicker, as if it were even nearer to the ground. All this proved that the heavenly tribulation had truly not ended yet, and was still ongoing. A loud crackling sound rang out in the skies as another thick lightning bolt began to take form, and the moment it took shape, it detached itself from the clouds and went striking down with great intensity. Following it, more bolts of lightning were brewing in the clouds and descending consecutively, completely not giving any time for the person undergoing the tribulation any chance to catch their breath. As if the heavens had been enraged. In the duration of a mere breath, 10 lightning tribulations had descended. Everyone in the misty illusory manor was collectively stunned. What exactly was going on? These lightning tribulations that came after were getting thicker, stronger, and more intense. Those towards the back were as thick as a water jug, following one after another, ceaselessly. Even if there was a huge mountain in the place where the person was undergoing the tribulation, it'd already have been turned into a flat plain, or perhaps a lake, or even a valley. Then what about Miao Xiao Miao? Who was going through her tribulation there? Would she able to endure it and pull through? The current situation may be extremely unoptimistic, but since the heavenly tribulation did not dissipate, that meant Miao Xiao Miao was still going through her tribulation and did not die. I am not dreaming, right? Miao Jingyun looked at the skies in daze and disbelief. He subconsciously reached to tug at his own beard. He winced at the pain. But it was as if it was not enough to prove to himself that this was reality. He pinched his own thigh. Then turned around. This is not real. But it was with this turn that he realized that everyone present had the same expression as himself. Some were even worse than his, their eyes were stuck. Especially those few Saint Venerables. They were completely astounded. Those few lightning strikes that came later were not easy to deal with, even for a Saint Venerable. Miao Xiao Miao, how did she make it through? Why was something like this happening? Who was helping her? If that eighth lightning tribulation of a Saint Emperor was triggered by a Saint Emperor who had accidentally entered the boundaries of Miao Xiao Miao's heavenly tribulation, then what was the explanation for what followed? Those were clearly the lightning tribulation that was directed for a person who was going through the tribulation. All these questions that puzzled them could only be asked, and Miao Xiao Miao returned, because right now, no one dared to go over. With the strength of lightning bolts like this, even if that fourth level Saint Venerable went over, he'll be completely charred. As to those who were weaker than a Saint Venerable, why would they go there? The moment they went, they'd immediately turn into ashes. Miao Xiao Miao sobbed heartbreakingly, forgetting that she was still going through her tribulation, forgetting that she was still on the verge of life and death, completely forgetting her surroundings. Her Jun Yi had sacrificed himself for the sake of saving her. Just thinking of this made Miao Xiao Miao feel as if there was nothing else that attached her to this world. A feeling of sorrow and grief filling her entire heart. Sob. Wah. Didn't I tell you not to come? Why do you not listen to me? If I die, you will still be able to live. But if you died, how do you want me to continue living? You tell me. You tell me, ah. Miao Xiao Miao wailed sorrowfully, her hand subconsciously hammering at the body on top of herself. Suddenly, Another dazzling flash lit up the skies and another lightning bolt descended. Miao Xiao Miao instantly forgot to cry. This. What is going on? Right. Jun Yi died on my behalf. But the lightning tribulation has yet to end. That's fine. Let me go to the netherworld with Jun Yi and reunite there. Miao Xiao Miao closed her eyes bleakly and dissipated the small amount of Xian qi around her, facing that oncoming lightning completely defenseless. The only action she did was hug that dead body on top of herself tightly. Bang! The earth shook. But the bizarre thing was, Miao Xiao Miao, who had completely given up hope and given up her will to live, did not turn into ashes. There was no reaction on the bodies of the both of them. Not even a tremor. What is going on? So tight, could you loosen a little? You're hugging me so tightly I can't breathe. Are you trying to murder your husband? While Miao Xiao Miao was trying to process the bizarre happenings with wide eyes, the dead body on top of her was panting for breath with great difficulty. His warm breath exhaled from his mouth were blowing onto her own neck, as if it were very difficult to say this sentence. Miao Xiao Miao's eyes widened in shock. Could it be the sudden movement of a corpse? That's impossible. Miao Xiao Miao gathered her senses and looked over, only to see a detestable jerk grinning. His face was hovering right above hers. Seeing her eyes widen, he even winked teasingly. AI. Looks like you don't necessarily have to do bad things to be struck by lightning. The fellow on top of her was still joking. Looking at Miao Xiao Miao's eyes that were completely shocked, this fellow even waved his hand before her beautiful eyes. Hello, has your soul returned? You're not dead? Miao Xiao Miao's mind had completely stopped working as she stammered this sentence. Nonsense. I have yet to hug my beauty home. How can I bear to die? Jun Moxie rolled his eyes and said shamelessly. But, what is going on? Why is there such a bizarre change? Miao Xiao Miao's brains finally started working again as she slowly looked at the sky, only to see countless lightning striking down at the both of them at a shocking might, but there was no feeling when it hit them. How could I know what is going on? Didn't they say that there were only 9 lightning tribulations? This is more like 99. Jun Moxie innocently rolled his eyes and said. Oh. I get it. What? What did you get? Miao Xiao Miao asked anxiously. Do you remember the second line of the couplet I told you about before? The heavens must have thought that I did not clarify it enough, so they are giving you a personal experience of it. Jun Moxie licked his lips and pointed at the skies and said, See? Isn't this thunder as the battle drums, lightning as the flags? Who dares to battle? Do you understand it now? How vivid. Ah! I understand your head. Miao Xiao Miao chided. This person is really too heartless. At a time like this, he managed to say it as the heavens are trying to explain the couplet. Are the heavens this free and idle? Forget it. He is weaker in strength, so he may not know about the dangers of these things. I should focus on dealing with the lightning tribulation. But how should I do it? I'm being pressed under his body, and every single part of our bodies are practically touching. Things that should be touched, things that should not be touched are all touching right now. Although Miao Xiao Miao knew that they were currently in a treacherous situation and she should not be thinking about other fantasies, but she still couldn't help but turn red, her gaze shunning young Master Jun. Not daring to look was one matter, but clearly feeling the muscular male body on top of her own, that unique manly scent filling her nostrils, Meow Xiao Meow could only feel her entire body going weak as her heart beat faster, completely forgetting about everything. She seemed to have forgotten that she was going through her heavenly tribulation now. The mud on the ground had also turned into a warm bed. Ayaya. What am I thinking about? This is so embarrassing. So embarrassing. Ah. What is there to understand about my head? You only need to understand one thing. Seeing that panicked, trembling red lips beneath himself, Jun Moxie felt a fire suddenly burning from within him, forgetting what he originally wanted to say. Ununderstand what? Meow Xiao Meow shied away with great difficulty, her eyes darting about, afraid to look at young Master Jun, her face turning redder and redder. You only need to understand this. Jun Moxie could no longer bear it. He leaned and captured the adorable red lips under his body with his own. Meow Xiao Meow was shocked. Her first thought was, this scoundrel is too ridiculous. We are at a crucial time in going through the heavenly tribulation right now. This lass only remembered that she was going through her tribulation now. Her second thought was, why is he so bold to do this here? Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 1049. Wind as delicacies, rain as wine, thunder as betrothal gift, and lightning as the matchmaker. From that point, Meow Xiao Meow once again forgot about everything. She simply closed her eyes and allowed her lover to plant his kisses all over her. When that pair of despicable hands found its way under her clothes, Meow Xiao Meow could not help but gasp aloud. In the instant she opened her mouth, a hot and slippery thing quickly slipped in and merged with her tongue. It was like a naughty little fish, roaming freely in her mouth. Her little tongue seemed to be caught up by that thing, and a strange feeling that she'd never felt before invaded her entire body. Meow Xiao Meow only felt her mind shake heavily, and she was completely lost in that wondrous sensation. Her spirit flew up and down, as if she were in a dreamy state. The sky was still with black clouds, crushingly heavy and fierce. The wind was blowing wildly, and the rain poured down relentlessly. The sounds of thunder shook the entire heavens, and lightning arched dangerously across the sky, striking down without pause. The entire world seemed to be shaking under the might of this heavenly tribulation. But right at the heart of this heavenly tribulation was a couple who was lost in their intimate kisses. Their focus was so great that it seemed as if the thunderous sounds and shaking earth did not have anything to do with them. After a long time, Jun Moxie lifted his head slowly. Below him, Meow Xiao Meow's face and neck were completely red, as if she were drunk. Her eyes were tightly shut, and her eyelids trembled lightly. Her cute nose twitched slightly, and her petite rosy lips were as red as a peach. She laid quietly against her lover's body, her large chest heaving up and down. Her perfect body was completely wrapped up within a pair of sturdy arms. I wonder what he's going to do next. If he wants to, what should I do? Meow Xiao Meow closed her eyes as her thoughts traveled wildly. In that moment, she'd completely forgotten where she was. Just at that time, Meow Xiao Meow felt a warmth against her ear, and a gentle voice rang out. With the heavens as our blanket and the earth as our bed, the wind as delicacies, rain as wine, the clouds will be our wedding decoration and the mist our witness. The thunder shall be our betrothal gifts, and the lightning the matchmaker. Meow Xiao Meow, are you willing to be my woman in this life? Meow Xiao Meow closed her eyes tightly as tears welled up, threatening to spill out. She could hear every single word clearly, even as the thunder boomed around them. Without any hesitation, she nodded her head fervently. This life, and every lifetime henceforth. I am willing to be your woman. Miao Xiao Miao's voice was as soft as a mosquito's, but her words were steadfast and resolute. Every lifetime, haha. There is no such thing as a next lifetime for my woman, there is only this lifetime, enduring even after the heavens and earth fades away. Jun Moxie laughed softly as he leaned forward again and enjoyed the taste of those petite rosy lips. Jun Moxie meant those words from the bottom of his heart. There was truly no need to think about a next life for his woman. Because this life, they would definitely outlast even the heavens and earth. After the seas dried up and stones crumbled to dust. But right now, Miao Xiao Miao would not be able to understand this, nor was there a need for her to understand. Because her heart was already drunk with love, no matter what Jun Moxie said now, she no longer had the capabilities to think about it. Miao Xiao Miao moaned softly and relaxed her shoulders, completely sinking further into his embrace. For this person whom she could lean on and obtain her happiness, she was fully content to give him her entire being. The winds howled and blew with all their might, and rain beat down upon the earth like blades. The clouds rumbled with rage and the earth shook from its might. The weather had clearly worsened to an extreme state. But to Miao Xiao Miao, she actually felt incomparably comfortable and warm, her heart filled with a sweet feeling. Because the heavens are our blanket, and the earth is our bed, the wind are the delicacies, and the rain is our wine, the clouds are our wedding decoration, and the mist our witness, the thunder shall be our betrothal gifts, and the lightning the matchmaker. In this world, which woman would experience such a surreal moment? Miao Xiao Miao was contented and intoxicated. This area was filled with love and sweetness. But not far away in the great hall, everyone was watching the terrifying heavenly tribulation with trembling hearts. If people's eyeballs could really drop out from their eye sockets with shock, everybody's eyes would already be rolling on the ground. Even the most calm people would not be an exception. The lightning tribulation of a second-level venerable actually took so much time. By now, there had been at least 500, 600 strokes of lightning. This was too ridiculous, wasn't it? Even the lightning tribulation of a fourth-level Saint Venerable was not that crazy. Furthermore, the power of the tribulation would not be so great. The lightning bolts were growing stronger and stronger with each stroke, and the latest ones were as thick as water vats, and purple in color. The faces of the old fellows would twitch heavily each time the lightning struck down. Such a powerful lightning tribulation had clearly already exceeded the level that the people present could endure. But the most ridiculous thing was that the other side was still holding on even now. In that moment, nobody felt that Miao Xiao Miao had even the slightest bit of hope remaining. There was no reason other than the fact that it was clearly impossible for Miao Xiao Miao to survive in this kind of lightning tribulation. A lightning tribulation at such a level was something so ferocious that if Miao Xiao Miao was slightly touched by even a bit of energy that leaked out, not to mention her, even a Saint Emperor expert would instantly be turned to ashes. Therefore, it was clear that this lightning tribulation was not Miao Xiao Miao's. Only the ones at the beginning were. Miao Xiao Miao must have had her lightning tribulation overlapped with the heavenly tribulation of another peak-level experts. Otherwise, there was absolutely no way that such a strange situation would appear. The only thing was, who was that person undergoing the tribulation now? Not a single person would have imagined that the person undergoing the tribulation right now was actually Jun Moxie. Yes. It was the free and natural physique great prodigy Mo. Still, they hadn't guessed wrongly. There were indeed two people's heavenly tribulations mixed together. And it was not just one wave. Miao Qingcheng had previously transformed over 1,000 years' worth of cultivation energy to Jun Moxie. And Miao Qingcheng himself could sense that Jun Moxie hadn't broken through. Truthfully, Jun Moxie's art of unlocking heaven's fortune had indeed not achieved a breakthrough. However, his body had been filled with such a large amount of pure heaven-earth essence qi, causing his xian qi accumulation to leap forward many levels. But the technique that this young master was cultivating was not xian qi. So Miao Qingcheng was unable to understand. A sizable portion of that large amounts of xian qi was first digested in Jun Moxie's meridians, and then transferred to the Hongjun Pagoda. That was the only reason why Jun Moxie had not imploded from the crazy transfusion. When young Master Jun had completely absorbed the external heaven-earth essence qi, he'd turned it into the golden spirit energy liquid in his body, before refining that into purple qi. When Miao Xiao Miao began to break through, the art of unlocking heaven's fortune had just finished this conversion process. Miao Xiao Miao successfully passing through the lightning tribulation was already a done deal. But when Jun Moxie arrived at the lightning tribulation field, his body was led by the heavenly energies, and his xian qi cultivation began to rise like bamboo in spring, growing rapidly. Miao Qingcheng's cultivation energy of over 1,000 years. This was not the 1,000 years of cultivation energy of a golden xian ah. It was a shocking amount of energy, enough to shake the world. Jun Moxie's cultivation was originally around the peak of the third level of Saint Emperor, at an awkward level between the next level and his current level. With a single stroke, he directly broke into the fourth level of Saint Emperor, and his xian qi continued rising, rushing past the barrier of Saint Venerable to reach first level Saint Venerable primary stage, middle stage, late stage, peak. After that, he directly skipped past the entire level, fully stepping into the second level of Saint Venerable. The energy did not seem to be stopping, finally stopping at the second level Saint Venerable peak stage. And the moment that he finished with his breakthroughs was the exact same time Miao Xiao Miao had just endured past her seventh lightning bolt. Jun Moxie's aura that had just finished breaking through spread out and instantly affected the tribulation clouds in the sky. So from the eighth bolt onwards, Miao Xiao Miao's little lightning tribulation had changed into the terrifying heavenly tribulation of a peak of a second-level Saint Venerable. Furthermore, this second-level Saint Venerable was not simply enduring one heavenly tribulation. It was the accumulation of a few levels of breakthroughs all combined together. One for the fourth-level Saint Emperor, first-level Saint Venerable, second-level Saint Venerable. A super threefold heavenly tribulation. With everything combined together, how great of a power was that tribulation? Under the disbelieving eyes of the crowd, the black clouds rumbled and stormed in the sky for more than 2 hours before finally dissipating helplessly. A moment ago, the wind was howling and the rain lashed against the land, while lightning and thunder filled the entire patch of sky. But in the blink of an eye, an area of 10.000 li was completely cloudless and not even the softest breeze could be found. The sun hung brilliantly in the sky, and the crowd discovered to their amazement that it was already noon. The sun was even leaning slightly towards the west. Go! Miao Jingyun was the first to dash out as a long line of experts followed behind him. No one hesitated to use their greatest speed as they rushed towards the center of where the lightning tribulation had been a moment ago. How quick were these people? The place where Miao Xiao Miao had chosen for her breakthrough was not too far as well. So in just a few breaths, everyone had arrived at the place. When they saw the scene, everyone sucked in a deep breath of cold air. Was this the spot where that terrifying tribulation had taken place a moment ago? This place was originally a quiet little mountain gorge a moment ago, right? Right now, it was a complete scene of desolation. The ground was filled with huge pits, and nearly all the plants had been burnt to ashes. The two sides of the mountain had even collapsed by half. The little waterfall that they remembered was now like a broken pipe, spraying water in all directions like a kid urinating. But the core of the lightning tribulation was actually a wide, empty space. There were no traces of Miao Xiao Miao and Mo Jun Xie. Could the pair of lovers have already turned into ashes and scattered into the wind? This was the most unwanted result, but also the most logical answer. The entire mountain was silent, and only the group of experts was standing there in a dumbfounded manner. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 1050. We can wash each other's backs. No one could open their mouths to mention such ominous words, although everyone knew it in their hearts. Search. Miao Jingyun's face turned sullen, and his eyes were red. Holding on to the last bit of hope, he waved his hand and commanded. Everyone instantly dashed off with a so sound, and in an instant, an area of 100 li was thoroughly searched through. However, there was nothing to be found. Under the might of the terrifying lightning storm, even the birds and beasts had escaped long ago. Even after searching for a long time, there wasn't even the slightest sign of a single living being. Could those two really have turned into ashes already? Although everyone was thinking the same thing, when they saw the murderous look on Miao Jingyun's face, no one dared to say anything. Miao Jingyun's eyes blazed with a stormy look as it swept past the faces of everyone. When they passed the Chiu family's Chiu Chengyun's face, they stopped for a brief instant as the look turned even deeper. His face, however, still remained emotionless. Chiu Chengyun felt as if a 10.000 June heavy hammer dropped on his heart at that instant. His entire body shook, and his back was suddenly filled with sweat. My precious grandson you're indeed a trouble-making devil This time, your grandfather is going to be doomed because of you. Look at the mess you've created. This is no longer a problem that concerns you alone. The entire Chiu family might even be turned on the path of destruction this time because of you. Old Master Chiu Chengyun wanted to cry, but had no tears. This was like he'd gotten shot while just lying down innocently. Everything could only be blamed on that failure of a grandson. He could have chosen to provoke anyone, but he just had to provoke that Mo Jun Xie. And to do that time and time again, now. This free and natural physique that had appeared only once in 10.000 years had been reduced to ashes as a result. On top of that, the most doted on and precious granddaughter of the manor lord had also been embroiled into the tragedy. And the most unfortunate part was that this had even happened on the manor lord's 500th grand birthday, and the engagement day of his granddaughter. This double joyous occasion had been turned into a funeral. If all this was pinned onto the Chiu family, because who else could be blamed for it? Feck, how much more unlucky can our Chiu family get? My son, just what kind of a curse did you and your wife give birth to? Even if black smoke rose out of all 8 generations of our ancestors' graves, it would still not amount to such a god of misfortune. That unfilial brat really killed them all this time. Chiu Chengyun felt like crying aloud, but his eyes were completely dry. When the others saw the mortified expression on that old Chiu family head's face, they all smirked internally with glee at his misfortune. We'll see how you continue to act arrogantly. Feck, wanting to snatch the spotlight with a miniature longevity pine tree. Are you stunned this time? Instead of blessings for longevity, you've instead began clanging the funeral bells for others and for yourself. Brother Gu. Seeing Miao Jingyun turning around without saying anything, Miao Jingyun looked around anxiously for help. The first person he turned to directly was Gu Yunyang. Everyone knew that Gu Yunyang normally had quite a bit of face with the Manor Lord. If he could help him put in a few words, perhaps the Manor Lord would simmer down his anger a little. Cough, this old man is going back to check on the situation there. I wonder how the situation back there is. Gu Yunyang heard Chiu Chengyun calling his name. And he immediately coughed, pretending as if he didn't hear anything. Leaving just a few words behind, he slipped away quickly, disappearing without a trace. Only when he was far out of sight did Gu Yunyang have the time to squeeze out a head of sweat. Feck. You can die on your own. I'm not joining you. Your Chiu family is already destined to be doomed. If I said anything now, I might even get dragged in with you. The best move is to run. Acting deaf and dumb was just a method of survival. It wasn't just Gu Yunyang. Whoever Chiu Chengyun looked at, that person would immediately flee as if there was a ghost chasing them. In the end, he was the only person standing on the rugged plains. Even the Zhan family's Shan Wuyun had also escaped. Seeing the empty patch around him, Chiu Chengyun could not help but to curse aloud in an aggrieved manner. Chiu Pengyu Dongayable Bastard. Little son of a beach. Utter wastrel. Motherfucking jinx. Ha 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 ha, this old man is going to die of anger. One had to say that this Chiu family patriarch's curses were quite creative. Some of the old fellows who hadn't run far yet could not help but feel the urge to burst out in laughter when they heard those words. Nobody had managed to find even the slightest trace of Jun Moxie and Miao Xiao Miao. So, where had the two gone? The terrifying lightning tribulation had already dissipated. But the two were still tangled together on the ground. Miao Xiao Miao felt that her spirit was rejoicing, and her soul was singing. She'd already forgotten where she was a long time ago. When she opened her eyes again, she discovered that the fierce winds and loud thunder had already disappeared, and the surroundings were quiet and calm. The area was completely silent, but the whole place looked as if it had suffered a natural disaster and did not seem to have any relation to this peacefulness at all. At this moment, Miss Miao was the happiest she'd ever been in her life. The heavenly tribulation is over? Miao Xiao Miao asked as she blinked her large beautiful eyes with confusion. Jun Moxie chuckled internally as he looked at her. This lass looks so confused, seemingly not remembering anything, to actually be so focused. How would I know? I've never experienced a heavenly tribulation before either. But I think it should be over, right? Even the sky has cleared up. Jun Moxie said with a slight smile. Looks like it was still very useful for him to act inexperienced. As his cultivation was weak, it was only natural that he didn't know what had happened. Quickly get up. You're crushing me to death. Miao Xiao Miao hurriedly pushed him away and anxiously arranged her clothing. With the violent storm a moment ago, and adding on to the fact that the two of them had rolled around in the mud for so long, her clothes had already become torn in many places. Not to mention, her clothes had nearly been fried by the lightning tribulation as well. How can I face others like this? Miao Xiao Miao almost cried with horror. She knew that her grandfather and the rest would surely rush over to check once the lightning tribulation was over. And at that time, it would definitely not be him coming alone. It was quite likely to be several hundred people. As a girl, how could she face the crowd like that? For a girl, it was better to die than to let others see her in a compromised state. Half her chest was already exposed due to the state of her clothes, and a large patch of her snow-white thighs were revealed. There were also a large amount of mud, contrasting on her skin, causing her fair skin to appear even whiter, and the black mud to seem even darker. Her originally silky black hair had been fried into a messy, grass-like state. Miss Meow still didn't know that her face had also turned into the likes of a wild cat's. Since you chose this place to weather the tribulation, you should be quite familiar with it. Are there any places nearby to hide? Somewhere with water? You can just return after a quick wash. Jun Moxie suggested. Of course. His eyes were roaming all over her body at the same time. This lass always seems skinny and slim. Who would have thought that she would be so ample at those important places? The areas that should be protruding are extremely perky, and areas that should be arched are shockingly arched. This is simply a devilish figure of legends. Meow Xiao Meow placed her hand protectively in front of her front chest, not having the time to scold him. Over there. There's a little creek, beside it. There's a rather well-hidden cave. But I don't know if it's ruined by the lightning tribulation just now. Meow Xiao Meow, who had grown up in the misty illusory manor, was naturally very familiar with the area. Just by looking around, she was able to find the spot. I think it certainly wouldn't be destroyed. Let's go there quickly. Jun Moxie carried her up and ran off. After his spiritual sense was improved, he could already sense that a large group of people was rushing towards him. As for whether that secret area was really destroyed or not, it didn't matter. Even if it was destroyed, he could just make another one using the power of earth and the power of water. The reason why he was in such a rush was very simple. With Meow Xiao Meow's current appearance, she definitely couldn't be seen by others. Young Master Jun would be incredibly jealous if that happened. It was only natural that he could look at his own woman in whatever state of undress. But if it were other people, it would be a huge loss. Put me down. I can walk myself. Young Lady Meow was only saying that on the surface, but she snuggled even deeper into Jun Moxie's arms. With a so sound, young Master Jun disappeared into the void along with young Lady Meow. Meow Xiao Meow's face was hidden in his chest, and she had already closed her eyes long ago, naturally not seeing anything. At this moment, the two of them were already moving in the void, and were completely invisible. No one could see them. After crossing over this mountain, there was indeed a unique and pristine pool. There was a tall cliff beside the pool and a medium-sized cave. This area had not been touched by the lightning tribulation, saving young Master Jun some effort. A branch flew out from Jun Moxie's hand as he dashed across, landing in the pool. It seemed as if he was just randomly throwing something, without any purpose. But by the time he entered the cave with Meow Xiao Meow, the entire pool along with the cave had mysteriously disappeared. If anyone came here, they would not be able to see anything. A miniature disorientating formation. This kind of formation had no other use than for concealment. The moment she saw the clear waters, Meow Xiao Meow instantly grew uncomfortable as she escaped from Jun Moxie's arms, wanting to jump into the water. But in that instant, she paused and turned around with a red face. You, what about you? What about me? What do you mean, what about me? Jun Moxie cocked his head and suddenly understood. This lass must be shy. Playing dumb, he said in an innocent manner. What else can I do? Your body is dirty, but can it be that I'm clean? I must naturally wash up. I'm already not very good looking. If I'm dirty, who can still look at me? But I. Meow Xiao Meow bit her lip and stamped her foot, unable to speak properly as her face turned red. But what? Why are you speaking so strangely? Jun Moxie asked. But there's only one pool here. Miao Xiao Miao looked at him shyly. Oh, this pool is quite big. Ah. It's enough for us to use together. I don't mind you bathing with me. Jun Moxie said with an exaggerated gasp, as if he'd just realized the situation. Nodding, he said in a pleased manner. Furthermore, we can wash each other's backs. How comfortable. This story will be continued to chapter 1051. For those of you who are not subscribed yet, please subscribe. The interesting and best stories will be updated. See you again in the next episode.